And take a look at this CNN projects in South Dakota. Mike Rounds, the Republican, will be the next United States Senator from South Dakota. That is a Republican pickup. Another Republican pickup. Mike Rounds wins in South Dakota. No projection in Colorado, where there's a close race between the incumbent Democrat Mark Udall, the Republican challenger Cory Gardner. No projection, at least not yet, in Kansas. The Republican Senator Pat Roberts facing a stiff challenge from the independent Greg Orman. And in Louisiana, no projection there. Mary Landrieu facing two Republicans, Bill Cassidy, Rob Maness. Remember, Louisiana, he needed 50%.
The Senate race where Mark Udall, the Democratic incumbent, is trying to hold on to his seat. He's facing off against Republican Congressman Cory Gardner. This one is too early to call in Colorado. In the Louisiana Senate race, it's another Democratic incumbent, Mary Landrieu, facing off against Republican Bill Cassidy. This one, according to NBC News projections, is also too early to call. In the Senate race there is a call. Projected winner, according to NBC News, is Gary Peters. That's the Democratic seat there. Carl Levin is retiring as the Democratic incumbent. It's an open seat. It will be held by the Democratic Party. In the Minnesota Senate race, incumbent Democrat Al Franken holding on to his seat, according to NBC News projections. In the Texas Senate race, do we have the Texas Senate race? Yes, we do. Texas incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn is projected to hold on to his seat in Texas. In Nebraska, NBC News is also projecting the new Republican senator from Nebraska will be Ben Sasse. He's the projected winner there. In Wyoming, the Republican incumbent senator there, Mike Enzi, has held on to his seat after a would-be primary challenge from Liz Cheney fizzled out. Mike Enzi winning in Wyoming to hold on to his seat. And in New Mexico, in the Senate race there, this is Tom Udall, the Democratic incumbent, facing off against a Republican challenger named Alan Way. This one is too early to call. We do have a call now in New Hampshire. We have been waiting on this one. NBC News can now project that the New Hampshire Senate race has been held by the incumbent Democrat Jeanne Shaheen, defeating Scott Brown, who moved from Massachusetts to face her. Scott, let me get your reaction to that one.
Well, Rachel, everybody has their own way of looking at how this election can turn out when it's all over in January 6th. I think there's a route. It may be a difficult route. It may be it's plausible. In fact, based upon the numbers, it is plausible. She just won. That's the first step. The next step is to win, if the Democrats want to control the Senate next time. Win in North Carolina. That's when Hagan has to hang on there and win. Then pick up Kansas because of the independent candidate who will go with the Democrats if it's decisive, we're told. Then win in Alaska, which is always hard to poll. And then go out and win the final races. Michelle Nunn has to nail it down January 6th. It is doable. In fact, it's almost within the margin of error in all those cases. So it's not a pipe dream. It is going to be tricky. They have to win all five. Yeah. There's one alternative. Instead of winning in Alaska, they could win possibly in either Colorado or Iowa. But they're difficult, more difficult. It is doable tonight. If you're watching, hoping, if you're a progressive or a Democrat, you just like a good fight, there is a possibility, a possible route for the Democrats to hold on tonight in terms after all this talk.
But we do have a lot more information than we already have. Kansas, too close to call. Colorado, too early to call with that win in New Hampshire. I should also say that Scott Brown just made history. He is now the first person in American history to have lost Senate races to two different women. So Scott Brown,
who's next?
Feminist hero.
Maine, take on Susan Collins in 6 years. He'll go to Maine.
We've got some news in terms of governor's races. I believe, do we have governor's boards now in terms of polls that just closed at 9 p.m. The Wisconsin governor's race. So this, of course, is a very closely watched race. Scott Walker, the embattled Republican incumbent, facing off against Democrat Mary Burke. NBC News is characterizing this as too close to call in Wisconsin. In the Kansas governor's race, the heart-right Republican, proud conservative governor there, Sam Brownback, in a race against a Democrat named Paul Davis. This one just 9% of the vote in. This is too close to call in the deep red state of Kansas. In the Colorado governor's race, the Democratic incumbent there is John Hickenlooper. His opponent is former Republican Congressman Bob Beaupre. This one is too early to call in Colorado. In Michigan, the governor's race, about 11% in there. The Republican incumbent there is Rick Snyder. He's facing off against Democratic challenger Mark Schauer. This one is too early to call in Michigan. In Texas, there is a call. The new Texas Republican governor will be Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott defeating Democratic national household name Wendy Davis to keep the Texas governorship in Republican hands, according to NBC News projections. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo also projected by NBC News to be holding on to his seat in the state of New York. In the Minnesota governor's race, NBC News can project that Democratic incumbent Mark Dayton will also hold on to that governorship. In the South Dakota governor's race, the projected winner is the incumbent Republican Dennis Stogard. In Wyoming, the governor's race in Wyoming, the projected winner is the incumbent Republican Matt Mead. In Arizona, this has been an interesting race to watch. Jan Brewer in Arizona, very high-profile Republican governor there, is stepping down. Doug Ducey wants to replace her as a Republican. Fred Duvall, the Democrat, vying for that seat. In Arizona, it is too early to call. In New Mexico, Republican incumbent Susana Martinez facing a Democratic challenge from Gary King. That one's also too early to call. And in the great state of Nebraska, the governor's race has just 6% in. That's too early to call between Republican Pete Ricketts and Democrat Chuck Hasselbrook. That is a red state, obviously, but that is an open governor's seat. In the Florida governor's race, now these are a few governor's races where the polls already closed before the top of the hour, but we're still watching these races. Look at this, 95% of the vote in the Florida governor's race. You can see just about 100,000 votes, 125,000 votes between Rick Scott, the Republican incumbent, and Charlie Crist, the Democrat. With 95% in, this is not being called. This is too close to call, according to NBC News projections for Florida governor. The Illinois governor's race, this one also too close to call at this point. Pat Quinn, the incumbent Democrat, I think it's fair to call him an embattled incumbent Democrat, facing off against businessman Republican Bruce Rauner. This one, less than 30,000 votes between them, under 10% of the vote in. The Massachusetts governor's race, Martha Coakley, the Democrat, and Charlie Baker, the Republican. This one is too close to call. Less than 1 in 5 votes are in the Bay State thus far. In Maine, this has been a great one to watch. Paul LePage and Elliott Cutler were both in this race in 2010 when Paul LePage took office in Maine as the Republican governor with far short of the majority, anything close to a majority vote, because it was a three-way race. It's another three-way race now in Maine. No call there yet from NBC News. In the Connecticut governor's race, Dan Malloy and Tom Foley, they're having a rematch from their 2010 race. This one is too close to call. In terms of governor's races, the only other one we're watching right now that we've got information on is this Georgia governor's race. Nathan Deal, the Republican incumbent, against Jason Carter, the Democratic challenger. This one is too early to call. I want to go to Steve Kornacki right now in terms of what we know in the Florida governor's race. It's amazing. We've got 96.
Because they're going to have to offset some of these losses. We know some other states that Republicans are likely to win that will be pickups, and there are only 3 left. I think no matter what happens, and I think it's likely the Republicans win the Senate, the White House was planning to and will try to engage with the new leaders of the Senate and the Congress and make an effort to demonstrate a willingness to cooperate in a bipartisan fashion. I think, you know, we saw reported earlier from the White House, one of the CNN correspondents saying that a White House official had said, we have to see whether the Republicans are willing to do the same. And, you know, one of the problems, I know we felt in the White House working with Republicans, John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, was that there wasn't ultimately the willingness to compromise on things where there should be areas of compromise available, on tax reform, on immigration reform, on infrastructure. I mean, this is an area where Democrats and Republicans have historically been able to find common ground. Our nation's crying out for some infrastructure investment, and there has been nothing but gridlock.
Well, and we'll see how Republicans interpret victories that they get tonight. I do want to go to some statements made by Mitch McConnell just a short time ago. Let's play that.
So tonight I pledge you this. Whether you're a coal miner in eastern Kentucky who can't find work, or a mom in Paducah who doesn't understand why the government just took away her family's health insurance, I've heard your concerns. I've made them my own. You will be heard in Washington. And look, when you get right down to it, that's what this campaign was really all about. It wasn't about me or my opponent. It was about a government that people no longer trust to carry out its most basic duties. For too long, this administration has tried to tell the American people what's good for them and then blame somebody else when their policies didn't work out. Tonight, Kentucky rejected that approach. Yeah! Tonight, Kentuckians said we can do better as a nation.
You know, Jay, to David Gergen's earlier point, though, if President Obama, who gave an interview today saying that essentially this is a story tonight about a bad map that just kind of broke against the Democrats' favor, if that's the message the president has taken away, is that really enough?
Well, I'd be surprised if that's the full message that's taken away. I think if you look back at the shellacking, as the president described it, that Democrats took in 2010, he emerged from that midterm that was probably even worse for Democrats than this one will turn out to be, and extended a lot of olive branches and negotiated furiously with Republicans to try to get some things done on fiscal discipline and the economy. In the end, certainly this is, I'm giving you my perspective here, in the end, John Boehner, the House Republican leader, even though his intentions, I think, were there and the president believed he wanted to get a deal, walked away from a deal because he couldn't get House Republicans to go along with it. And I think that what we'll see, the real test will be, will Republicans pass the Paul Ryan budget and pass it through both houses, and will that become the governing document that they want to put forward? Because the Paul Ryan budget is not a workable document for, or budget for, the American people. It's just not popular. It was devastating for Mitt Romney. It rewards wealthy Americans over middle-class Americans, and it's a losing proposition.
Well, another key question will be, will President Obama sign the Keystone Pipeline? I mean, I don't think there's going to be a shellacking tonight by Republicans, but I think Republicans are going to do well. And hopefully the president would take some time for some introspection, some self-reflection to say, okay, some of my policies were on the ballot this year, as I predicted, and maybe I need to work across the aisle a little bit more on things like the Keystone Pipeline, already popular with the American public.
Which will create 33 permanent jobs, and we'll talk about that later. Listen, this is not over. First of all, look, it feels like the curse is starting to kick in, all right? We knew going into this thing, historically, Bill Clinton, in his 6th year, he lost some seats. Reagan lost some seats. W lost some seats. So the curse may be kicking in. But this thing is not over. And I think we need to focus on what's going on right now. I think what's shocking to a lot of people is the struggle Democrats are having in Florida and Virginia. That is surprising. I don't think anybody expected to see a weird 96% of the vote in, and you got Chris struggling for his life. I think Democrats came in here expecting to do better in Florida. I think when you're talking about Virginia, this is the curse is there. That is.
And are those votes against the president, or those?
I guarantee you right now, you got Democrats across the country scratching their heads and worrying about this thing. This thing is not over. I'm encouraged though by some of the places where we are doing better. I do think that Orman's going to be able to pull this thing off. But listen, I don't want to start talking about tomorrow. Tonight, I think you got people across the country who are.
There were a couple of races that Republicans were going to be really giddy if they managed to pull out. Virginia Senate was one, Maryland governor would be one, and Rhode Island governor would be one. Those are long shots. If any one of those comes true, Republicans are going to feel really good about the way that tonight went.
Newt, I just see you shaking your head.
Well, I mean, first of all, you can notice how rapidly we go back to partisanship. The fact is, if we elect a governor in Massachusetts, that is an enormous breakthrough. It's just that people have already accepted it. We're going to win control of the Senate decisively tonight. That's a big breakthrough. And McConnell has said clearly in a speech he gave at the beginning of the year, he intends to go back to the way Mansfield ran the Senate, which would require a bipartisan, rational approach in the Senate and a radical change from Reid. The real question for the president is going to be simple. Is he prepared to meet with Boehner and McConnell? Not bring in a gaggle, have a big show, say, oh, look, I talked to him. Sit down in a closed room with two serious professionals who will just have one power and have an honest talk among the three people who have to govern America.
We're getting some more races here. I want to standing by for a big projection, and I want to go for Wolf for that.
All right, we got a major projection, Anderson, in the fight for control of the House of Representatives. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi may have had some dreams of becoming the Speaker of the House again, but John Boehner...
By a Republican. I think we've also got one other result from Nebraska. Again, I was just talking about the minimum wage and how it always wins, no matter how red the state is. In Nebraska, it was Initiative 425. And Nebraska voters, as Republican as they are, they sure do love the idea of giving America a raise. A huge vote tonight thus far for the Nebraska Raise the Minimum Wage Initiative. It is one of 4 states that's voting on that tonight. So those are 2 results just in from the great state of Nebraska. I also want to do one more result that that we just did a moment ago, which was the Minnesota Senate race. Minnesota Senator Al Franken, the Democratic incumbent there, re-elected in Minnesota, according to NBC News projections. Joining us now is his home state colleague, Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. Congratulations on your pal and colleague winning re-election.
Well, it was a little easier than last time.
Yes.
Whereas, 312 votes, and it took him 6 months to get there. I kept telling our Minnesotans they can't start chants at, say, 5.5 more years. So we're excited about this, and we're also excited about Governor Dayton. And as you know, Rachel, they both ran really strongly on the economy, on economic accomplishments with our 4.1% unemployment, the fact that we have done a good job in terms of encouraging business and workers, and it's just been a positive campaign here in Minnesota. At the same time, we're very concerned about the races across the country, but I did have to smile when I saw my good friend Jeanne Shaheen win, and actually a victory for the Constitution, which says that each state can have 2 senators, but each senator can't have 2 states.
Excellent. Well done. It's political science in the form of limericks, which is one of the things I've always loved about you. I got to ask, with Governor Dayton being reelected, with Senator Franken being reelected, with you in the other Senate seat in Minnesota, with our dear friend Michelle Bachmann leaving politics, as the rest of the country looks at Minnesota, you guys always get shorthanded as a purple state. Has Minnesota gone blue? Should it be seen as a more democratic place than it usually gets credit for?
Well, I think it is still purple. We have very close state house races going on. We have 2 contested congressional seats, and the president, I think, won by 7 points, which is exact same margin in Wisconsin last time. But I think the difference is we've really focused in our state politics and in these races on the economy. And I think one of the Wednesday morning quarterbacking questions will be, was there any kind of a trend between for candidates that focused on the economy, on a little bit on accomplishments, knowing there's so much to go, but also talked about minimum wage and issues like that mattered really at the heart of people in this country. And so I think that's going to be looking at the races in the Senate and see if there's any kind of a trend there is important.
Senator, let me ask you about your colleague who was just declared the winner for re-election. He's found a very unusual career path. He's gone from being a very well-known figure in American life, especially our cultural life. In fact, you might even say a celebrity. He's gone from being a celebrity to a non-celebrity. He's become a senator. Now, this is really a strange decision. Most people like to get better known. It seems like he has followed a strategy for 6 years well, I think it was Steve Martin who said, let's get small. And he got small. He hasn't done any national interviews. We can't get him on our show. I don't know if you've had any luck, Rachel.
Well,
he doesn't do any national. Go ahead. What's that strategy like?
Do you want me to put a good word in for you, Chris?
No, I just want to ask you.
I
want to get your Sardi's review of this brilliant transformation from famous national celebrity in the culture world to just another good United States senator from the state of Minnesota. I think it's remarkable how well he's been disciplined to do this. I'm celebrating his victory because of everyone should have a second act, and he has got one.
Well, I think what he's done, he said he was going to do this from the beginning. He put his head down. He got to work. He did things that mattered to the people of our state and put our state first. And that's what this campaign's been about. That's what the election's been about across our state. So, and I do think the fact that we have the lowest unemployment rate of any metropolitan area in the country. We have worked hard to have a strong education system in Minnesota. And the governor took a $6 billion deficit and turned it into a $1.2 billion surplus with the help of so many strong businesses and workers in our state has really been our message. And I don't think it's completely unique. I think you see some other people running on that across the country. So we're happy, but we have really difficult races out there. And maybe I'll be up with you at 3 a.m., Chris, waiting for those Alaska numbers
Let me talk about you now, Senator. Take a moment. Everybody likes you. And everybody in the national media likes you, I think. And everybody that knows you in your state likes you. And the question is, how do you get to be president of the United States? With Hillary Clinton probably running. How do you get around Hillary Clinton? Because that's the only route to win. You have to go around her. How do you do that?
I think you are aware that all the Democratic women senators signed a letter encouraging Hillary to run. We're excited about her running. And right now, what are we focused on tonight? The midterm elections.
It's over.
Including
Let's
those
talk
that are
2016.
It is not
It's over.
This is there is so much more work that needs to be done here with these states. And I'm hanging in there for Bruce Braley in Iowa and Mark Udall in Colorado and my good friend Mark Begich up in Alaska, who has created the best voter turnout they've ever seen up there, more polling places, more early voting. And so we're hanging in on those races in a very difficult map.
You made my point. You are a national figure, rooting for everyone across the country. Thank you, Senator Amy Klobuchar, who everybody actually does like.
Thank you.
And by the way, coming up now, Congressman Louis Gutierrez, who's a Democrat from Illinois. Congressman, thank you for joining us. You know, there's been a lot of talk about what the president might do after this election's over, starting tomorrow morning. Do you have any signals from the White House, from Valerie Jarrett or anyone, McDonough, the chief of staff, or the president himself, that he might do something dramatic in the area of immigration?
I do, and I'm encouraging. I've been talking to you and other members, thinking it's going to be millions. The question is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Rowe Family Singers.
Thank you very much. Green Icy Mountain, PUD. Green Icy Mountain, PUD. It's gonna be that. fiddle set for you here. We're going to get our good friend Mr. Diamond Rickley on the fiddle to do a couple fiddle tunes for us, and our own Kim Rowe is going to join Joe Hayes down there on the dancing board. This is when stuff gets exciting. Very exciting. What do you got for us, Rick? I'll do a set of Sail Away Ladies in the Snake River Reel. Key of G. Well, It's all right. Go ahead. It's okay. Thank you very much. We'll do one that Kim and I wrote here. This is for our daughters. We've got 2 girls, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. We wrote this for them when they were born. A 2-year interval. It's called Born for Thine. Kissy. You think so? Patty Hearst? Ready? Thank you very much. Thank you. This is my party. Let's do Little Billy Rubin. Little Bill.
Some red meat of some kind.
You mean blue meat, right? Blue meat? Blue meat. Yeah. Blue meat. very much. Mr. Lee, let's get you to do another one here. Yeah, we're going to do another clogging number here where Kim and Joe are dancing down there together. If you want to learn how to clog tonight, if you're thinking, you know, this evening isn't exciting enough, wondering how all these races are going to turn out, I need to learn how to do some Appalachian clogging. These are the two to talk to. Come talk to them. All ages. You can do it. I heard that Amy Klobuchar is quite the well-versed Appalachian clogger.
It's common knowledge.
What are we doing? Chicken reel? All right. Chicken reel. This goes major and minor, you know?
Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your Minneapolis Mayor, Betsy Hodges.
All right, Minnesota, is it a good night to be a Democrat? Is it always a good night to be a Democrat? Have we worked very hard to get here? Come on, cheer. You worked really hard to get here tonight, right? We door knocked and we lit dropped and we phone banked and we worked really hard, and now's the time that we get to do our work together by celebrating. That's our job right now. So welcome to the city of Minneapolis. We are so glad that you are here. I am so glad you are here because tonight, as is every night, is a great night to be a Democrat. And you know who leads us Democrats, us DFLers in the state of Minnesota? One Mr. Ken Martin, who is here tonight. Ken Martin, come on up.
All right, DFLers, are you ready to have a good night? Are you ready to win? Well, look, we are very encouraged by some of the early results coming in, and of course the networks have already called a couple of the key races for Senator Franken and Governor Dayton. But of course we got two guys on the top of the ticket who won by recount, so we're not quite ready yet to call those races. But I think it's going to be a good night for both of them. What do you think? I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you in this room for knocking on the doors, making the phone calls, talking to your friends and neighbors, and getting the vote out. You see, Paul Wellstone taught us this many, many years ago, that when we roll up our sleeves and we do the tough work of having those conversations face to face, neighbor to neighbor and person to person, we can beat back big money, we can beat back nasty attacks, we can do it with people power, and that's what we've done this year, right, DFLers? Thank you so much. It's going to be a long night, but we're really encouraged by what we're seeing already. Let's keep the faith and let's have a great party tonight. Thank you, DFL.
A man walks down the street, he says, why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle? The rest of my life is so hard. I need a photo opportunity. I want a shot of redemption. Don't want to end up a cartoon in a cartoon graveyard. Bone digger, dogs in the moonlight. Far away, my well-lit door. Mr. Beer Melly, get these mutts away from me, you know. I don't find this stuff amusing anymore. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long-lost pal. I can call you Betty, Betty, when you call me, you can call me out. A man walks down the street, he says, why am I short of attention? Got a short little span of attention, and whoa, my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model now that my role model is gone? He ducked back down the alley with some roly-poly little bat-faced girl. All along, there were incidents and accidents, there were hints and allegations. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long-lost pal. Man walks down the street, it's a street in a strange world. Maybe it's the third world, maybe it's just first time around. Doesn't speak language, he holds no currency.
Ladies and gentlemen, please move in front of the stage.
Surrounded by the sound, cattle in the marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please move in front of the stage to welcome U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. said don't say anything yet.
Still have to see which are Scott Walker, Rick Snyder in Michigan. I think those are two that are going to be very interesting to watch. And as we look at Colorado, I mean, I think one thing that's got to be a little concerning with 62% or 63% of the vote in there is that the Senate candidate, Mark Udall, trails the Democratic governor. He's at a 48-48 race, whereas the Udall-Gardner race is 51-44. Again, same precincts in, so a little concerning that you have that Senate candidate there trailing what the Democratic governor's get.
Thanks, guys. We're back to you. When we come back right now in a moment, the polls will be closed in Iowa. What a hot state race that is for Senate there. And Montana, another one we expect the Republicans to win. But watch Iowa. Coming back in just a minute. Results right after this.
You are a business pro, maestro of project management, baron of the build-out.
3 seats to regain the majority in the Senate. They would be in control. We'll get new results right at the top of the hour. Polls are closing in Iowa and Montana, in Nevada and Utah. In the meantime, let's go back to Anderson.
There we go.
Say, we've got a great speaker here. He's been a wonderful congressman here in Minneapolis and for the 5th District. He's a fiery speaker. He's a great progressive. Please give a warm welcome to our Congressman, Keith Ellison.
Hey, any DFLers out there? Make some noise, DFL. You know what? These returns so far, they're looking pretty good for Governor Dayton. And the returns are looking pretty good for Al Franken. And when we think back just a few years ago at those nail-biter recounts, it must feel good. You must feel very good as a DFLer to know that we might just bring on in a blowout tonight. Now, we got to be careful because the numbers aren't in yet, but I'm just telling you that they don't start, the networks don't start calling it for one side or another at 8 o'clock unless it's looking pretty good for one side or another. So I think that the real thanks is that we had two great candidates, right? I mean, Governor Dayton did an awesome job as governor. He did a wonderful job as governor, and the credit for him looking so good so early tonight is because he has done a fantastic job with a fantastic team in the Minnesota State Legislature, House, and Senate. And Al Franken has done a fantastic job too. He has proven that yes, he's funny, witty, and smart, but he is also a dedicated, compassionate public servant. That's right. And so I just want to let you all know how proud I am to be a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. How proud I am to be able to say, yes, I believe that government can do good things for working people. Yes, government has a duty, a responsibility to make sure that the rules are fair, that the road is clear for people who want to climb up the ladder and make a better life for themselves and their family, which is why I was so proud to see my friends in the Minnesota State Legislature go all-day kindergarten. How awesome that is for the ladder of opportunity. I mean, can you imagine these kids, they're kindergartners, which means they're automatically, you know, really cute, right? But, I mean, the fact that they can study all day long, this is the best way to close that learning gap between black and white students. Well, this is the best way. And then when you think that those kindergartens can look forward to a state of Minnesota where college students had frozen tuition. Tuition didn't go up for college kids because of Governor Dayton and the Minnesota State Legislature. Oh, and don't stop there. They held down property taxes so you can keep more money in your pocket. These Republicans like to brag about how they're not against, they want to lower taxes. Well, only for rich people. You know, we say we want regular folks to be able to manage their bills too. In fact, I love the fact that Governor Dayton ran last time saying tax the rich, you know? I mean, because even though, I mean, seriously, because, you know, when you think about a person working at McDonald's making minimum wage, you know, this person making this kind of pay, you know, do they really care that the CEO has to pay a few more taxes when they know the CEO makes $9,000 an hour? Think about it, they don't care, right? That's fine if that $9,000 an hour worker has to pay a little bit more. But if that worker can get an increase in the minimum wage, which is going up under the Minnesota State Legislature and Governor Dayton, right, then that means that their quality of life is better. That means that their livelihood is better. That means they can pay more rent, maybe get a bigger apartment, maybe buy better food, maybe get off ramen and get some decent nutrition food. Now, this is who we are as Democrats, and we've got to keep moving in the direction of being proud of who we are. We don't believe in smaller government, lower taxes. We believe in fairness, decency, a ladder up. We believe that we have a country that is rich enough to sustain prosperity for everybody, not just a few. And I want us to fight for it, and I want us to believe it. And the thing about it is, and again, we're being cautiously optimistic here, but if the projections hold up, I'm so glad that our governor and our standing on solid DFL values. He didn't back off of our values and act like he didn't believe in what he clearly believed in. He said, hey, here's where it is. You know, people who have been given a lot ought to pay a little bit more. And people who not making much ought to get more. And he said that little kids ought to be able to go to school and get a decent education, and you ought to be able to go to college and be able to afford it and not be drowning under debt. And we ought to, and so these things, these values that we all stand for, I want you all tonight to know that we do not have to water down and make what we believe in less. We can say what we believe in really is not just, it's not just good policy, it's good politics. Now, if you, as I begin to wrap up, if you went out there and knocked on some doors tonight, I want you to wave your hands in the air right now. Let me see you. Get them up. If you knocked on some doors, if you made calls tonight and called your neighbors, get your hands up. If you made calls and knocked doors, get your hands up. If you talk to your neighbors about your highest and best aspirations, about what our state can be, what our nation can be, and you poured your heart out on those doors, that phone about what is best and what we can do together, make some noise, all right? And I just want to leave you with this idea. We as Democrats, DFLers, I want you to know we actually have an easier job than the right wing. Now, you guys are surprised to hear me say that. But guess what? All we got to do is get the majority of the electorate to support policies that help the majority of the people. Whereas the right wing is trying to get the majority of the electorate to support the policies that only support the 1%. That's kind of hard. I mean, there's no wonder why. There's no wonder why they want to tell you that, okay, you guys, y'all can't be friends because some of y'all are straight and some of y'all are gay. That's what they tell us, right? They say that to us, right? We cannot go for it. We have to be united. They tell us that some of you guys were born here and some of you guys immigrated here. So this side should not like that side. They tell us some of you guys are this color and that color, so you can't be friends and get together. They tell us that some of you all are older and some of you are younger. And then they tell us Ebola's going to get you. Ebola's going to get you. Watch out because Ebola's going to get you. Do you believe they actually put out ads on Ebola trying to scare you with that? But they're going to try to say, some of y'all, they're trying to take your guns. Anything to distract you. Anything to keep you divided and afraid. So as you leave, I want you to party hard tonight. I want you to have a good time. But I want you to remember the best thing we got going is our unity. The best thing we got going is that we are together, that we are not divided on any of these simple things, and we stand together on the simple idea that we all do better when we all do better. So you stick with it, and you don't back down, and you remember it, and you hold it in your heart, and you hold it in your hand, and you be proud to be a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Thank you very much.
Back down.
Let's hear it for Keith Ellison. All right, now we've got a party going. Let's keep it going. Please give a warm welcome to St. Paul Mayor Chris Coleman.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It is great. It is great to be able to come to a party and have all the suspense at the top of the ticket already over by the time you even get here. It doesn't, we can still celebrate. We can still pay attention to what's happening because there are a lot of races out there. Even though they've called for the governor and they've called for Senator Franken, this is not. That doesn't mean that this is the end of the evening. We've got a lot of races to watch. Steve Simon doing well in the Secretary of State race. We've got House races across the state of Minnesota. It's kind of hard to transition a little bit because for the last, months and weeks and days and hours, we've been out campaigning. We've been out giving a speech on why it's important to go out and vote and work to the last minute. Folks, we worked to the last minute in the state of Minnesota. All of you that went out across the state and door knocked and pounded on every door that you could think of, called everybody that you could think of, got everybody out to vote to make sure that victory tonight for Governor Dayton, that victory tonight for Senator Franken, that made it happen because you worked so hard. And I just want to thank you for being there on behalf of the entire DFL ticket. A lot of times people, we know what the DFL stands for, right? Democratic Farmer Labor. But for tonight, it stands for Dayton. It stands for Franken. It stands for the legislature and all those other constitutional officers, all those other folks. Because we know firsthand what happens when you have a Democratic governor and a Democratic legislature. We can see the results. And even though the results across the country might be a little bit mixed tonight for Democrats versus Republicans, in the state of Minnesota, we're the shining example. We're showing people what you can accomplish. We're showing what happens when you beat back piece after piece of legislation that tries to deny rights to people to marry the person that they love. And all of a sudden that you have a majority and you have the ability to marry that person that you love regardless of sex. And it is the wonderful thing that Minnesota is that shining example. The fact of the matter is we continue to do that on voting rights, on paying back the school shifts, on investing in transportation, on creating jobs. Minnesota is at the top of almost every index, and it didn't happen by accident. It happened because the DFL was in control. It happened because we had Governor Dayton at the top of the ticket. It happened because we had Senator Franken supporting him out in Washington, D.C., and because we had control of both the House and the Senate. That's what this is about, folks. It is about the hard work that we did that leads to the victory tonight, so that tomorrow we can continue to move the state of Minnesota forward. In every corner of this state, for every person in the state, for every child and every child's future in the state, we have a victory to celebrate tonight. But thank you for all the work that you did to make this possible. It is a good night in Minnesota. Let's show the rest of the country what happens when you have progressive values governing your state. Thank you very much.
It takes so long, I don't know why, to get the vote in Fairfax. He caught him at the wire by about 6,000 votes. It looks like that's going to happen. That could happen again here. But again, this is one of those, this was just not on anybody's radar. If you had asked anybody coming in tonight, they said Warner's going to win this thing by 15, 20 points.
But with the huge population concentration in Fairfax, it could be a long night before we get enough returns from there before we actually know what happened.
Yeah, it's something, they come in bunches too. So.
Let's go to Steve Schmidt and Robert Gibbs on this, actually. I think of Ed Gillespie running. I think of Ed Gillespie running in Virginia as like Steve Schmidt running in Nevada, or Robert Gibbs running in your home state. I mean, I feel like Ed Gillespie is a behind-the-scenes guy who nobody ever expected to be a candidate on his own terms. It looked like it was a bad idea when nobody thought he had a prayer. What's happening tonight?
Well, he's turned out to be a hell of a candidate, and one of the aspects of this I think it's important to put in context is the Republican Party gave up 6 U.S. Senate seats with deeply flawed candidates over the last 2 election cycles. And when you look at the map and the way that it's playing out tonight in the state of Virginia, it's certainly going to be the case that if Ed Gillespie falls slightly short in this race, it will be because in the most expensive political midterm in American history, his race was not properly funded. And it's just extraordinary. It's a lack of imagination, a huge strategic mistake by the Republicans. And as we move now in this terrain into the purple states, we have the predictable results out of the red states. But we have seen the first defeat by a Republican in a purple state in New Hampshire. We'll see how it plays out now in Colorado, in North Carolina. But a must-win state for Republicans in a presidential election is Virginia. And as Chris pointed out just a bit ago, Cuccinelli left on the field undefended in a close loss to McAuliffe, and now Ed Gillespie.
Yeah.
Pretty big mistake if he goes down.
And historically, the most Republican southern state was Virginia. Right, when North Carolina and Georgia were going for Carter, Virginia was not. What's really stunning, as you said, 51% was what Barack Obama got in just 2 years ago. Mark Warner, though, was elected 6 years ago with 65% of the vote. I said this earlier. He walked out of the governor's mansion with a 75 to 80% approval rating, and you know what Ed Gillespie and others have done in this race is take somebody who had a profile of winning votes in rural southwestern Virginia and a bipartisan image. They've made him into just the average Democrat in Virginia because he's literally going to walk away with probably, if he's lucky, 51% of the vote.
Yeah, extraordinary.
In terms of the Virginia Senate race, too, I'm just thinking about what makes for a surprise. Part of what makes for a surprise is polling. We've seen Go ahead, Robert.
Well, I would just say this. I saw some people close to the Warner campaign over the weekend, and they said it was going to be. They thought about a 6-point race. They actually thought it was going to be close. I think this was one of those races that nobody really pulled in and nobody ever really saw. And I think I would absolutely reiterate what you said, Steve, and that is somebody forgot, because you can, to paraphrase Sarah Palin, you can see Virginia from the RNC headquarters, and somebody forgot to take the temperature in a big swing state in a race they may have won.
How they do that twice in a row? How they do it in it's sitting right there. But how did they screw up the gubernatorial?
It's not like Virginia wasn't polled, though. I mean, there were 4 polls in October in Virginia. They showed Mark Warner up by 10, Mark Warner up by 10, Mark Warner up by 12, Mark Warner up by 7. If I was making spending decisions based on numbers like that, I'd make the same mistake that they were making. I mean, Colorado, the hope for Democrats in Colorado is that the polls are as wrong in Colorado as they've been for the last 2 cycles. The hope for the Republicans in Virginia is that the polls are as wrong as they've been in Virginia, as it looks tonight.
One thing here, there were some early signs, not necessarily in polling, but in the way Mark Warner was conducting himself. He was one of the first people to come out really strongly to criticize the president on how he handled Ebola, which was something that some other Democrats weren't even willing to do. And the smart Republicans I'm talking to at this point in the night say that they're expecting, for what it's worth, the Virginia race to go to a recount.
Well, I think one thing that's important to remember in politics, you have to run for something.
Of the expected vote in. At this point, it's too close to call, according to NBC News. At Orman headquarters there, Lawrence, how are they feeling about things so far and where they're watching the vote come in from?
They're very encouraged here tonight, Rachel, at Orman headquarters. Republicans are supposed to win Senate races in this state. They have for 80 years. In the general election, no one has a chance against a Republican. But Greg Orman coming in here as a Democrat, coming in here as an independent, with the Democrats vacating the ballot, clearing the way for him to try to get in here and take this seat away from Republican, is running neck and neck. This is completely unpredictable, even at this stage. And there are so many layers of drama in this election here tonight. One of them is a very personal drama that took place within the Republican Party. It started 2 years ago when Bob Dole, for the first and only time since he left the Senate, went to the Senate floor to ask for votes on what was basically a UN treaty that would make basically the American Disabilities Act international. He needed Republican votes for that. He was betrayed by Republicans on the floor, including Republican Senator Pat Roberts from Kansas, who voted against Bob Dole on the Senate floor. One of the big dramas that occurred here was what is Bob Dole going to do in this campaign? And a few weeks ago, he came to Kansas and he started to campaign for Pat Roberts. And what I have to wonder is, the Bob Dole I knew would have said to Mitch McConnell before coming out here to help the Republicans win this state again, you owe me. You owe me a vote on that treaty if you guys win the Senate. And by the way, you owe me a vote.
Going away. But Tillis comes from this other tradition, which has really antagonized a lot of moderates, and that represents an extreme conservative position in the legislature. And that.
If you change your mind, take a chance. I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go when you're feeling down. If you're all alone with a pretty birds that flown, honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. Gonna do my very best, and it ain't no lie. If you put me to the test, if you let me try, take a
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage State Auditor Rebecca Otto and Radium.
This is Ken's favorite song. Good evening. I'm Rebecca Otto, the state auditor. And that was Radium with my son Jake and his buddies from like kindergarten. So thanks, Radium. They're going to play some more. So we started this journey together back in June when I received a last-minute primary opponent. Remember that? We faced big money and a very negative campaign. And what did we do as DFLers? We united, we phoned, we knocked, we worked social media, we got people to the polls in August primary, and we showed the world that in Minnesota, love trumps money. So we were outspent 4-1, and together, we defeated my opponent 4-1. And that was with receiving 81% of the vote. So when we unite all together as a group, we can do amazing things. Now, in this general election, I had 4 opponents. I still have 4 opponents at the moment. We all made our case to the voters about what we had to offer as state auditor. And I am deeply honored by the results so far. So with 28% of the vote in, we have 55-36 with my Republican opponent. And so that's looking pretty good. I work with numbers, and the trends are showing that things are looking pretty good. Now, if the voters of Minnesota decide that I get to serve as a state auditor again, I will continue to do my job without fear or favor. I will continue to serve the taxpayers' best interests, and I will always do my work on your behalf. And now as the auditor, I'm not always going to tell you what you want to hear, but I will always tell the voters and the taxpayers what they need to know. My work as a state auditor has not been about the next election. It's really been about the next generation. I know this job, I love this job, and I really hope to return to continue to serve you as the Minnesota State Auditor for another term. I want to just say we had an amazing team this election cycle, and I'm never going to be able to name all the people that helped me. But what I do want to do is thank Sean, my husband, my campaign manager, my treasurer, my webmaster, my ad designer, and so much more. He helped to build a winning message in organization, and we think it's a winning message. I want to thank Radium as well, and Jake Otto. Jake Otto. He's not even listening. He's played 2 state conventions, and they're playing tonight. I want to thank Julie Bunn for being my finance chair, Michelle Allen for my event organizer, but I want to do a special thank you. I've had a lot of people who've done a lot of field work, and they have volunteered. I have very, very good friends, both in the Hmong American community and in the East African community. And I see my friends here tonight. I have Uncle Charles and so many friends in the Hmong American community, Wang Yuvu, Senator Fong He, and my Hmong American family. So thank you so very much for all of your help. Yes, and Paris Vu. I can't even name all of you. And I also want to thank Muhammad Amin, who I call Abdi, who has helped me so much in the East African community, who has gone out and really organized people and told them the importance of all of us being together, working together, because we're stronger as a state. And so I have a lot of new family members. So I also want to thank the DFL party for all that they did for me, and all of you for all you've done for me. And let's hope for a great result tonight. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dan Nelson.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congresswoman Betty McCollum.
Good evening, DFLers. I want to say thank you to the voters of Ramsey and Washington County who gave me your trust and your votes tonight. Thank you. My commitment is to you the same as it's always been. I will put Minnesota families first. It's clear that the Democrats in the U.S. House, however, tonight will remain the minority party. It's disappointing, but it's not going to stop me from working to move our country forward. Looking ahead, I will work with Democrats and Republicans to govern our country responsibly, and I'm also going to be working closely with President Obama to keep our country safe, strong, and successful. And I will work towards compromise to solve our nation's challenges, but I will never betray our DFL values. The issues facing Minnesota and our country need to be addressed by elected leaders looking for common ground, not the most extreme agenda. There are areas of common ground that we can all agree on. We can keep our economy growing, creating jobs, rebuilding America. We must protect our air, our water, and our land from pollution, and we must take immediate action to address climate change. And we need to make education a top priority, to make the investments that get the results we need. Now, these are not partisan issues, but this is what will keep Minnesota strong and keep America successful. But there are some issues that are just non-negotiable. We need to strengthen Social Security and Medicare, not privatize them. We need to defend the rights of working people to be able to organize and never allow right to work to enter this state. And every woman deserves equal pay for equal work. She does. And she deserves the freedom to make her own health care decisions. And I will always protect choice. And all Americans should be treated with respect and dignity. Discrimination, racism, and hate must be confronted, never tolerated, not in the job, not in our schools, and not in the NFL. And we need to protect gays and lesbians from discrimination in the workplace. We need to end this epidemic of bullying in our schools. Because I want every Native American child to know that they are precious, valued citizens with bright futures, not mascots. Now, today my name was on the ballot, but I did not win this election alone. I want to thank all of our volunteers, the campaign staff for their tireless work. Thank you, Team McCollum. And I also want to thank the men and women of labor for standing with me, campaigning with me this election. Thank you, labor. We know what DFL stands for. But now the time for campaigning is over. It's time to get back to work for the people of Minnesota. It has been my privilege and honor to serve the families of the 4th District, and I look forward to doing that again. Thank you very much.
months of seeing the extraordinary idealism, commitment, and passion of Georgians. And I was reminded time and time again of our Georgia State motto. Y'all have heard me say it, right? But I have seen it embodied in our Georgia citizenry: wisdom and justice and moderation. So tonight, more than anything,
for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Me get up, first shot, pimp strut walking, a little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious, somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. Nope, nope, y'all can't copy yet. Glad moonwalking, and this here is our party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all way. Chrome music, I shed my skin and put my bones into everything I record to it. And yeah, I'm on. Let that stage light go and shine on down. Got that Bob Barker suit game and Plinko in my style. Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds. But I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, I'm my INDEPENDENT. It's hustling, chasing dreams since I was 14 with the 4-track bustin'. Halfway across that city with the back crushing. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give that to the people, spread it across the country. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give it to the people, spread it across the country.
Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Now, can I kick it? Thank you. Yeah, I'm so damn grateful. I grew up really wanna go fronts, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang raised you. Y'all can't stop me. Go hard like I got an 808 in my heartbeat. And I'm eating at the beat like it gave a little speed to a great white shark on shark. We raw. Time to go off. Gone. Deuces goodbye. I got a world to see. And my girl, she wanna see Rome. Caesar make you a believer. Nah, I never ever did it for a throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people. Now, sing this song and it goes like, raise those hands. This is our party. We came here to live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. If I fall, they got me. Learn from that failure, gain humility, and then we keep marching. I
Here we
said,
go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Al's Grateful Volunteers.
Since the cold, lots of wind, even more to do. You and me gotta spend some time wondering what's true. Goes to show, don't ever know. Watch each card you play and play it slow. You know, wait till that deal come round. Don't you let that deal run out. I've been gambling here about 10 good solid years. If I told you all that went down, I'd probably burn out both your ears. Right outside the lazy summer home. Oh, ain't got time to call you, so the critic no. Right outside the lazy gate with a summer home. Wondering where that has winter. Winds a mile long. Just carry the love, carry the love, carry the bird away. Got to find out that you are the eyes of the world. Now, Amy. Heart has its beaches, its home and thorns of its own. Wait now, discover that you are the songs at the morning break. Heart has its seasons, its evenings, and songs of its own. Comes a redeemer and he slowly too fades away. Follows behind him a wagon that's loaded with clay. Seeds that were silent all burst into bloom and decay. Night comes so quiet, it's close on the heels of the day. Wake up to find out that you are the eyes of the world. Heart has its beaches, its homelands and thoughts of its own, of its own, of its own. Bring now, discover that you are the song that the morning brings.
Mark Preston over at our...
And financially, and with your prayers, and we feel it. And I am so, so grateful for it. There's so many people I want to thank. I want to thank my team. My team is great. They have done a wonderful job. I would go into battle with this team anytime, any place. I'll never be able to thank you enough. And I want you to hold your head high. You did a great job. You did a phenomenal job. You made Minnesota proud. You made me proud. I see Molly Cronin over there. Thank you. The best chairperson one could ever have. I want to thank everybody in the room. Again. Without you, we're nothing. I want you to hold your heads high. And most importantly, I want to thank the people behind me, my family. That's right. Let's give them a... Mary Kate and I were talking about this just this morning. We are so much better for this. This has been such a phenomenal journey for our family. Our faith in Minnesotans has only increased exponentially. I've coached football for 14 years. And every kid that I've coached can tell you the 3 rules that I've always had. The first rule is listen to the coach. So I had Danny ask me, my 11-year-old asked me the rules today. So he said, Dad, did you listen to the coach? I said, I did. I did listen to him. God's our coach. So then he said, second rule, Dad, did you try your hardest? I said, yeah, I did try my hardest. Yes, you did. We tried our hardest. He said, Dad, what are the 2 things you can control? And I said, well, effort and attitude. No one can ever take those away from me, not anybody. Not anybody. And I'm so proud of my team, our effort, and our attitude. We ran the type of race that I wanted to run. We had a positive attitude, you know. And the last rule, most important rule, never to be forgotten, especially by coaches, is the fun.
All right, Republican Mike McFadden in his concession speech at Republican headquarters, losing at this point in time, but it was called, Al Franken, 41 to 55%.
Yeah, his family behind him there, you can tell, was
very
maybe
close to his family.
A really tough night for
Absolutely.
his kids. If you watch their faces behind him. All right, we have more election coverage, of course, coming up in just a minute. We're going to take a short break.
bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you. He's a friend of mine. Yes, yes, I am. And he goes by the name Justin. Whoa. All the way from Memphis, Tennessee. And he got something special for y'all tonight. He gonna sing a song for y'all about this girl.
Coming right here?
Yeah. Come on.
On that sunny day, didn't know I'd meet such a beautiful girl walking down the street. Seen those bright brown eyes with tears coming down.
So he said to himself,
she deserves a crown, but where is it now? Mama, listen, senorita, I feel for you. You deal with things that you don't have to. He doesn't love you, I can tell by his charm, but you can feel this real love if you just lay your mind fast in my mind. Girl, don't you slow it down. If we carry on this way, this thing might leave the ground. How would you like to fly? That's how my queen.
Ladies and gentlemen, DFL Chairman Ken Martin.
All right. Say, don't you think we have two great United States senators? We are blessed to have two of the finest U.S. senators in the whole nation, and it is my honor to introduce our senior U.S. Senator, Amy Klobuchar.
How are you? Hello, DFLers. Now, we are getting some hard news across the country, but we are getting some great news in Minnesota. We are bucking the national trends, and I got to tell you right now, it looks like Steve Simon is ahead. We're feeling good about that. And we appear to have reelected our governor and our United States Senator Al Franken. Now, I got to tell you, when Al comes out here, I get to introduce him, all right? So when Al comes out, you just have to promise one thing to me, and that is, you know, he was 6 months late, so last time. So don't start a chant 5.5 more years, all right? Now, I think you know that was a tough race, and now we get to tease him that last time it took him 6 months to get declared the victor. This time it was 6 seconds. Thanks to all of you. Now, let's talk a little bit about why this happened. I think, first of all, I want to thank every single person in this room that reached out to Democrats, independents, and Republicans and talked about what a great Senator Al Franken has been. I also think we should thank his great staff, the people that ran his campaign, because there is a reason that the new moderator for Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, said that Al Franken's campaign was the best run Senate campaign in the United States of America. Now, the other thing is that your hard work means that I get to keep working with Al. And Al's a lot of fun to work with, and I think you know he works really hard. But I also love hanging out with Franny. I love her apple pie. I love the fact that when Al and Franny first met at a college mixer, he bought her a ginger ale, and the rest is history. They've been married for almost 40 years, as Al likes to say, most of them happy. I love that Al will show me a picture of his beautiful grandson, Joe, at an endless Judiciary Committee hearing, just in case I haven't seen the latest one. And I love that Al starts to cry every time he talks about Paul. When Al came to the Senate, it wasn't easy. There were people that did not want him to succeed there. Did that stop Al? No, it did not. It made him work even harder. And I think you know that Al has stood up for justice. He's held the powerful accountable. He gives voice to the voiceless. And these principles have guided his work in the Senate, whether whatever he's doing helps 50,000 people or 50 people. Al has stood up for Minnesota. So now it is my great honor to introduce your senator, U.S. Senator Al Franken.
A man walks down the street, he says, why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle? The rest of my life is so hard. I need a photo opportunity. I want a shot at redemption. Don't want to end up a cartoon in a cartoon graveyard. Bone digger, dogs in the moonlight. Far away, my well-lit door. Mr. Beer Melly, get these mutts away from me, you know. I don't find this stuff amusing anymore. If you be
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am so honored and so humbled and so grateful to the people of Minnesota. Thank you for taking a chance on me 6 years ago. And thank you for giving me the chance to keep working for you in Washington. Every day, the people of this state impress me, inspire me, and motivate me to work even harder. So I want to thank our business owners and community and technical colleges who are working together to close the skills gap and put people in good paying middle-class jobs. And I want to thank our farmers who are using new technologies to turn biomass into fuel. I want to thank our students who are working 20, 30, even 40-hour weeks while going to school full-time because they want to take a chance on themselves and contribute to their communities. I want to thank every single hard-working Minnesotan I've met along the way, everyone who works hard and plays by the rules and just wants a fair chance to build a better life for their families. I couldn't be more proud to be your senator. I brag on Minnesota all the time. I promise to do everything I can to reward your trust, or if you didn't vote for me, to earn it over the next 6 years. We've got a lot to do, and I'm excited to get back to work tomorrow. Tonight, though, I just want to say thank you. And as always, the first person I want to thank is Franny. I can't tell you how great it's been to watch over the years as Minnesotans get to know and love Franny the way I do. Like most people who run for office, I wouldn't have done it if Franny hadn't been willing to be my partner in navigating all the trials and tribulations of a campaign. And I'm quite certain I wouldn't have won if she hadn't turned out to be so good at it. Franny, I love you and I'm so proud of you. The same goes for my daughter Thomason and my son Joe. I love my kids, and I love my kids-in-laws, Stephanie and Brody. My sister-in-law Carla and all my other sisters-in-law and brother-in-law. But Carla's here. I'm proud of all of them, even if you work slightly less hard than Franny. And especially my grandson, who did nothing except be cute. And he is... he's asleep up in the room. We just thought it wasn't right to wake him up and have him. I also want to thank Senator Amy Klobuchar. Since the day I got into the Senate, Senator Klobuchar has been an incredible role model and the best partner I could have asked for. Minnesota's lucky to have Amy as your senator, and I'm lucky to have Amy as a friend. And I want to thank Governor Mark Dayton and our incredible state legislature and our congressional delegation. I am proud to be part of your team, and I can't wait to see what we can achieve together in the months and years ahead. This has been a long, tough campaign, but I think every campaign, at least these days, is long and tough for candidates, for families, for their supporters, and in some ways that's a bad thing. I think people have probably had enough TV ads and fundraising emails for a while. But in some ways, it's a good thing because it gives us, all of us who do this, something in common. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, everyone who steps up to run for office or gives their time and energy to help them experience a lot of the same ups and downs. And it's a reminder that although we might not always agree, we're all in this together, all working as hard as we can to fight for the things that we believe in. And that's why I hope you will join me in giving Mike McFadden and his family and his supporters a big round of applause. I also want to thank DFL Chair Ken Martin and the tireless, perpetually underthanked DFL staff. This is the best state party in the whole country, and you have a lot to be proud of. Last but by no means least, I want to thank my team. Now look, I have watched a lot of election night coverage in my life, and you always turn on the TV and say, they say Senator so-and-so is now speaking, and you see him or her thanking all these people you've never heard of, and it's just boring. That's what I used to think, but I know better. When my grandson was 30 minutes old, I held him in my arms and I said to him, "It's all staff." So bear with me for a second here, because I'm going to thank a lot of people. Now, first of all, my staff isn't really my staff. They're my team, they're my friends, they're my family, they are dedicated public servants, public policy professionals, and volunteers. First, I want to thank my campaign manager, Matt Burgess. I want to thank my Chief of Staff, Casey Aiden Wansberry. I want to thank my Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor, Alana Peterson. For those of you that are covering this on the local affiliates, this is where you want to say Senator Franken is thanking his staff and go back to discussing whatever you want to discuss. I want to thank the people who made our ads and did our polling and raised our money and created our mail pieces and grew our field program and built our website and sent all of you those obnoxious fundraising emails. I want to thank the field organizers who spent months crisscrossing the state drinking gas station coffee. And there is some good gas station coffee around this state. The schedulers and other staffers who made sure that I was in the right place at the right time. The finance team who put together hundreds of events and thousands upon thousands of call sheets. The researchers who made sure that we got our facts straight. And the communication staffers who made sure we got our voice heard. The folks who made sure that our phones got answered, that our internet stayed on, and that our volunteers had fun. And of course, every single supporter who knocked on a door or made a phone call or marched in a parade, thank you, thank you. I want to thank everyone who has been a part of my Senate staff over the last 6 years, helping constituents, working on legislation, putting together hearings, making sure Minnesotans know about the work that I'm doing, and generally making me look good while getting nearly not enough credit. I want to thank all of these people individually by name, but that would take all night, and besides, I probably still would end up forgetting someone, and they'd feel even worse about it, considering how many names I had already mentioned, and thanks, so. Okay, I'm going to do it by name. No, I'm not. So let me just say one thing. I think that all of you who worked on this campaign and have worked in my Senate offices, both in Washington and here in the state. It mattered. It mattered. Every time I walked into our headquarters or a field office or a rally and saw so many people working so hard to help me win, it reminded me how important this is to so many people, and it made me do a better job. Thank you. The work that we do together matters to Minnesota, and I can't wait to get back to it. I am going back to the Senate to help people refinance their student loans. I'm going back to the Senate to stand up for women's health care. I'm going back to the Senate to make sure that American workers continue to have the right to organize. And I'm going back to the Senate to continue leading the charge on net neutrality. I'm going back to the Senate to make sure we confront this Sputnik moment and aggressively take on climate change. And create millions of 21st century jobs in clean energy and in energy efficiency. And make sure that those jobs are American jobs and Minnesota jobs. I'm going back to the Senate to support workforce development partnerships and new infrastructure and veterans health care and so many other issues. I'm going back to the Senate to fight for the middle class and those aspiring to be in the middle class. Because we all do better when we all do better. I'm going back to the Senate to work hard for the people of Minnesota. But for tonight, all I want to say to you and to every Minnesotan is thank you. Thank you.
was feeling so bad. So I asked my family doctor about what I had. I said, "No, doctor, Mr. MD, can you tell me what's ailing me?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah. All you need, all you really need, a good love, good love, give me good love, give me good love." I said, now, baby, that's for sure. I got the fever. You got the cure. She said, yeah. She said, yeah. Oh, we really need good love. Got to have love. Got to have love. A little love. Oh, very good love. Well, I was feeling oh so badly. So I asked my family doctor about what I had now. I said, now doctor, Mr. MD, well, can you tell me what's ailing me? He says, yeah. You go, yeah. Oh, in me. They say we all do better when we all do better. Got to have love. Got to give me some loving. When the sun is shining, you can feel it.
Come on in, folks. You know, the DFL with Governor Dayton and Al Franken, when we ended this campaign with joy, with unity, with a sense of accomplishment, and a vision for how we're going to move this state forward and build a better Minnesota for all, not just a few. Isn't that right? We've got a great, great ticket with Al Franken and Governor Dayton, and it's my honor to introduce the next Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith.
Hello. We did it. So, in this campaign, we have had a vigorous discussion about whether Minnesota is heading in the right direction or whether it is off on the wrong track. And tonight, Minnesota said that we are on the right track. And tonight I have just 3 thank yous that I want to offer up. The first is this one. For the first time, my name was on the ballot, but my heart is always with the campaign staff and volunteers because that's the work that I have done for the last 20 years. And so I want to start out by thanking you, the campaign volunteers and staff, the people that cut the turf and do the volunteering and bring food for the staff and do all of the work that makes these campaigns work. Thank you so much. And then second, I want to just thank my family, Archie, my husband Archie, and our sons, Sam and Mason, who are here. When I was younger and they were younger, Mason and Sam used to call me Talk-A-Lot Tina because I was on the phone all the time. So maybe this makes it a little bit worth it. And then what I want to do is to thank Mark Dayton. Mark Dayton, our governor, our goalie, the guy who runs to trouble, whether it is a propane crisis or a flood or whatever anybody needs, the guy that leads Minnesota with compassion and courage, with integrity and humor. Will you join me in thanking Mark Dayton for leading us for another 4 years?
Thank you very much. Thank you. The hour's late, so everybody's got to go to work tomorrow. I received a very gracious telephone call just a short while ago from Commissioner Johnson, which I greatly appreciated. It's a difficult call to make. I know that from experience, but he was very generous in his comments, wished me well, and said that he hoped that my next term would be a good one because that would mean it's good for Minnesota, and that takes a lot of class and courage. So I thank Commissioner Johnson and wish him and his family all the best. You know, I've been blessed with 2 terrific running mates. Lieutenant Governor Yvonne Pretner-Solon's been a great partner for the last 4 years. And I've had a fabulous running mate. Tina Smith is going to be just a superb Lieutenant Governor. And, I'm blessed with a wonderful family. I have 2 terrific sons, Eric Dayton and Andrew Dayton. And my daughter-in-law, Corey Dayton. I'm very grateful to all three of them for the tremendous love and support they've given me this year and every year. And a special shout out to my fabulous campaign manager, Katie Tanucci. Couldn't have asked for a better run campaign, and she's just tremendous. And also, I want to thank our DFL party chair, Ken Martin, who also did just a superb job on behalf of me and all the other candidates. And to thank my finance chair, Tom Borman, who also works so very hard to give us the wherewithal. So thank you. And three wonderful friends who are also been keeping the governor's office intact for the last few months. Jamie Tincher, my chief of staff, Dana Bailey, and Bob Hume. Thank you all very much. I want to congratulate Senator Franken. What a tremendous victory he's won, and we're so glad to have him going back to the U.S. Senate along with Amy Klobuchar. We've got two fabulous senators representing our state. Also Representatives Tim Walz and Betty McCollum, Keith Ellison, Colin Peterson, and Rick Nolan. 5 tremendous victories here, especially up north. So really, Colin and Rick, congratulations. Well done. Very well done. And my fellow constitutional officers, Lori Swanson, Rebecca Otto, Steve Simon, great job. Look forward to serving with you on the Executive Council and other responsibilities of our offices. And I want to give a special recognition and appreciation to Speaker of the House Paul Thiessen and Majority Leader Aaron Murphy of the Minnesota House, and to all of the House DFL candidates, both the incumbents and the challengers, who really persevered and through all the just awful negative assaults made against them over the last few weeks. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication running, and we'll see about the majority, but we've done very well so far. So let's hope for a majority in the DFL and the House of Representatives. I want to thank all of you and the other DFL leaders and activists who all over the state have worked so very hard for the last months to make our victory tonight possible. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. And most of all, I want to thank the people of Minnesota, all of you who entrusted me to serve our state as governor for the next 4 years. It's a trust that I will treasure and a responsibility that I will remember in every moment of the following 4 years. During the past 4 years, I have stood up and spoken out for the causes I believe in, and I've worked hard to make them happen. I promise you who supported me today that I will remain true to those causes and to my principles always. I also want to say to my fellow Minnesotans who did not vote for me today that I feel the same responsibility to serve you to the very best of my ability. I believe that we all want the very best for Minnesota. We just disagree on the details. The way we resolve those differences is called democracy. And the genius of democracy is we don't get it all our way. And at the end of the campaigning, at the end of the election, at the end of the legislative session, we're all Minnesotans. Our futures and our fortunes are intertwined. Our children and our grandchildren will all inherit the same state. It will be the state that we together make for them. 10 or 20 or 30 years from now, they aren't going to ask who offered which amendment or who defeated what bill. Instead, they will ask who has made this state better for them and for their children and for their grandchildren. We owe ourselves, and we owe all of them, a better Minnesota. That is our responsibility. That is our opportunity. So let's begin again to build a better Minnesota beginning tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you. Thank you.
I've been knocking on the door that holds the throne. I've been looking for the map that leads me home. I've been stumbling on good hearts turned to stone. The road of good intentions is gone dry as a bone. We take care of our own. We take care of our own. Wherever this flag's flown, we take care of our own. From Chicago to New Orleans, from the muscle to the bone. From the shotgun shack to the Superdome. Ringo Hill, the cavalry stayed home. There ain't no one here in the bugle blown. We take care of our own. We take care of our own. Wherever this flag's flown, we take care of our own.
One, two, check. All right, everyone, let's hear another huge round of applause for both Mark Dayton and Al Franken. Yeah. I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, thank you for coming out here. We're going to start off with some Stevie Wonder. This is Superstition. Very superstitious. The writing's on the wall. Very superstitious. Ladder's bound to fall. A 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck. The good things in your past. When you believe in the things that you don't understand, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. right, folks, let's keep this party pumping, eh? Next up for any Chicago fans out there, we've got 25 or 6 to 4 coming right up.